Today's training, I want to talk about how women-owned small businesses can find and meet federal buyers. And the reason I'm saying women-owned small businesses is because as we're finishing up the month of March, which is Women's History Month, we wanted to do training all through the month that we're focused on women-owned small businesses. If you're not a woman-owned small business, don't worry about it. You can teach this to other women, to women-owned small businesses, or more importantly, you just use this yourself because it's a fundamental skill set to business development and capture within the federal market, frankly, within sales. And so we're going to be talking about how do you find and meet customers, in this case, find and meet federal buyers. I hear from people a lot where they say, everyone tells me I'm supposed to have relationships. Success in the federal market, it's about relationships. Do you have enough relationships? You need to know people. It's not about what you know, it's who you know. All these kind of buzzwordy things, but where's the how behind it, right? If you're going to tell me I need to, success in the government market is all about relationships. Well, how do I build them? How do I get started? And that's what I want to talk to you about, right? How do you get into an agency? How do you begin to look into an agency and say, I want to get into that agency? What's the first step? What's the second, third, fourth, fifth step as we go forward? How do you find names of people? And this is what we're going to talk about in particular today, right? How do you find names, numbers, and emails? How do you figure out who and how to contact somebody so that you can meet people and start building relationships within those within that government agency that you're talking to or want to talk with, right? And the thing to keep in mind is anything that is new and that you don't have a lot of experience around, right? This is a skill set. It's just, if you're inexperienced at it, it's going to seem hard. The only reason it's hard is because you don't quite know this process steps for the skills that you're trying to learn. And you don't have yet enough experience to make it seem easier. Riding a bike is like that. If you get on a bike and you've never ridden it before, everything is scary, completely scary. But if you're been riding it for a while, then you're like my 9-year-olds who like stand up on their seats and stuff and scare the heck out of their parents, but they don't care. It's not hard anymore. But in the beginning, everything was hard. And it's for that. It's like that for us through our entire life. Every time we're trying to learn a new skill. And so I wanted to point out, I just want to make sure you're tracking on process. And what I mean by process, the 7-step process for federal revenue success that I created is really a streamlined approach to how do you succeed in the federal market. And what we're going to talk about today is right here in the middle of the first 3 arrows is targeting, right? Targeting is about finding the right people to call. And so how do you do that? Before you can even reach out and start relationships, you need to figure out, how do you find those right people? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. That's what we're going to do in today's training. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to my federal sales training where I teach tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results at the end of that process. And that's what I want for you. As it relates to today, right? If you learn and follow a process about how to find and do initial outreach to folks in an agency, you're going to start getting into a door repeatedly, and you're going to start getting into the doors that you really want to get into. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn here or on YouTube, do me a favor, connect with me or subscribe to our YouTube channel so you hear about other information we share. Today, I shared a strategic plan for, I think, the next 10 years, 2023 through 2033, for the National Weather Services, part of NOAA, part of Department of Commerce, right? It's got a lot of good information in there, but I share a lot of this type of information out there that is designed to accelerate your learning curve on getting into an agency. Part of getting into an agency was that first step of the 7-step process, research. And so I provide a lot of that, and make sure you're connected with me so that you can track on that. And then last thing is just make sure you're letting buyers and me and others in the community know who you are. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and put your company name, 2 or 3 keywords into the chat so people know who you are. Get used to doing this every time. You can't do it enough, right? The one time you don't do it is the one time somebody who really wants to find you shows up but doesn't see you do what they want, right? So always do it, not just on my training, but anywhere you go and watch training, any event, stand up and say, hey, I'm Neil with the GovCon Chamber. Last thing before we start, I just definitely want to say thank you to the GovCon Chamber sustaining members. The sustaining members are the ones who make this training possible, so we really appreciate that. Sustaining membership is about helping us continue to do what we're doing. We do have thank you. I almost said prizes, but things of value as a way of saying thank you. For example, I have $1,000 course in there that's for business development. It's just part of the sustaining member as a way to say thank you. But most importantly, that's us saying thank you to you for helping make this training possible to everybody else that's out there. Okay, today's got a fire hose of information. I'm just going to keep this going along. And the first thing I want to talk about is if you want to successfully build relationships, right? Find and meet people and build relationships. My first tip for you is to just start off with one agency. Pick one agency and commit to diving deeper into that agency than and knowing that agency better than anybody who works in that agency. That's my measurement of how well do I know an agency. Do I know it better than 80%, 90% of the people who work there? When you think about it, it's not that hard to know an agency that well, better than almost anybody who works there. If I have a company and it has 2,000 people, most of those people are working in their team or their division, their branch or whatever. They're not fully aware of the entire government. I worked with some Navy captains who come out, they retire out of the Navy, and they were on subs or something. Well, they know subs, they know water warfare, et cetera. But do they know NAVFAC or NAVSupply that well? Do they know the overall Navy, right? Yes, of course they're aware, but they're not reading all the material. And that's something you can do. And the reason that's important is because if you take a deep dive into one agency, you can begin to learn and find and build connections that keep leading you to more and more people. And you want that kind of activity. The second thing you really want to pay attention to when you're going into an agency and you're trying to determine or find people and build relationships like we talked about, you need to understand the roles that people play within an agency. You're a salesperson. I don't care what your title is. All of us are salespeople going into an agency. So like I said, CDC or the Navy, or let's say Secret Service, I'll use this as an example today. If I'm trying to get into the Secret Service, which is an agency under the Department of Homeland Security, there's three roles that any employee over there would fall under. They're a focus of receptivity, a focus of dissatisfaction, or a focus of power. And it's really important for you to understand these three roles that people might be in as it relates to your efforts getting into an agency. Because when you understand it better, it'll make more sense on trying to find these people, the ways you try to find them, and then your initial outreach to them. So let's talk about focus of receptivity really quick. Focus of receptivity is a person who's just willing to walk you around Secret Service, maybe make an introduction to somebody like, yeah, I know Jane over there. She's in charge of that. I'll send an introduction. Maybe they'll share information with you that's public information, but maybe it's hard to find. An example might be a strategic plan, or maybe there was an industry day, or there's an event coming up. Whatever it is, they can help you find more information. Who's the CISO? Because I can't find them. And that's not really true since I found the CISO, but a person like that, right? I'm trying to reach this type of person. Could you help me? Well, a focus of receptivity is a person willing and receptive to your needs to get into the agency. They're acting on the agency's behalf. Don't think that they're only acting on your behalf. They're acting on the agency's behalf, but they see by helping you, they can help the agency as well. Focus of dissatisfaction is the second one. This person is the person, generally the program office, and they're the ones with the need and the challenge. And so you want to get in and meet them. Let's just leave it at the focus of dissatisfaction is the one with who's dissatisfied with things that are not going quite right, or dissatisfied that they want more goals, features, whatever. They want more and they don't have it yet. And so one way or another, they're dissatisfied. You want to get in there and talk to them about those challenges and their goals and objectives. And then the last one is focus of power. This is basically the contract specialist and the contracting officer, obviously, right? The contracting officer is the top of the focus of power in there because they're the only ones to sign a contract with a company like yours. And so when you understand these three, FR, FD, and FPs, then you will begin to look for people in those different roles depending on where you're at. If you're going after a particular opportunity, you might look at a contracting officer, focus of power, to get information like when's this RFP dropping, what vehicles are coming out on, what tool is, what platform are you going to even announce this on, SAM or GSA eBuy or wherever, right? Where are you announcing this opportunity? Contracting officer might be a great one to learn that information. So I'm going to pause there. If that makes sense, put in the comments just FR, FD, FP, and let me know in the chat that you understand that you need to understand people's roles that they fall into. Focus of receptivity, focus of dissatisfaction, and focus of power. What I like to do, by the way, is align all these people along the federal agency's acquisition process. Where are they in that acquisition process, and who might I need to know in order to stay aware of everything going on with a particular acquisition? So I'm going to share my screen here in a second, and I'm going to walk you through how to do this. So let me just get rid of this. Let me move this up. Okay, so let me share my screen really quick. First one I want to share is this one, and hopefully this will work the way I want. So when you think about how can you find people's information, actually, let me stop sharing. That's the second one I wanted to show you. There was one that was just even way more powerful. Bring it back to me. Just wait 1 second. You'll love it. Okay. Okay, so I'm sharing this industry day. My goal for today is to show you how I might find names of people in Secret Service that I want to get to. So here's an industry day deck, March 16th. So a couple of weeks ago. Today's the 28th. And so this is a industry brief that's out there. If you're not familiar with this, make sure you know how to search for industry day on Google. Target your agency. Ask anybody, hey, are there industry day slides out there? Because they are one of the most powerful ones for finding people. So I want to walk through this deck really quick, and I want you to count how many different names we're finding in this one briefing deck that I'm going to show you. So if I come down, the first thing I'm seeing, and I'm just going to count it, and I'm going to go pretty fast because I can see my time. But here's two, right? Kimberly and Tamika. Keep track with me as I go forward. Let's see how many names we can find that are unique names. And I'll go pretty fast when it makes sense. Here's a bunch of other names, but I don't need them at the moment because I know they're going to be down below. So let me keep going. So we had the first two. Here's Cynthia. She's 3. Salvador, number 4, right? And this is the head of contracting for Secret Service. This is a perfect person to reach out to and say, hey, I'm trying to introduce my company. I'm trying to introduce my company to maybe a contracting officer on your team who can talk to me about cybersecurity opportunities down the line, whatever, right? This person's name's right here. Now I just need to go find the name and email, et cetera. Kimberly Witcher, right? She's up above. So we got her. Let's come down. Here's Kimberly and Tamika. So we had 3 on this first few slides. Now this next group is going to be some that we've seen already because they're talking about the forecast system. So let me go through these really fast down to here. So now we're into a whole nother section, right? Here's the operational support services. So it's training branch, technical development branch, whatever, right? I'm not trying to teach about Secret Service, but here's 3 new people. So Ryan, Shanti, and Teresa. So we had 3 above. This is 6. And as I come down, you'll see these people's names. They're the contracting officer team on different opportunities. So you should be learning industry decks and how to read them. But now I'm coming into another one. This one's travel services, right? But there's Shanti. We already had her. But Beth and DeAndre are new. So that's at 8. Now I'm at 8 names as I'm coming down. Alexander and Michael, 9, 10. Now I'm not going to really say it. I'm just going to come down. You can see here's 3 new groups. Here's Kibby and Crystal. They're new. Sarah's new. Kibby and Sarah the same. Crystal Alu, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, is there. So you can see these. Let me go through because those are the same. And now I'm coming to this next group, right? This is the operations support services, the Office of the Protective Operations Branch. So a whole nother area, and you can look and see what they buy in a second as I go forward. But here's 2 new folks, division chief and a branch chief. This is perfect for me to be able to try to get in. And so as I come down, I'm just getting more names, right? You can see on each side, each slide, there's 3 people. Sometimes they repeat, but more than often, you're going to get 2 new ones on every slide. So as I come down, so these ones are all repeating. And then another group, some of these are the same as you move forward, other opportunities. My point here is when I look at an industry day slide deck like that, I'm able to find a lot of names. So I'm trying to get into an agency. The first thing I need to do is know which agency, one agency I'm trying to get into. Then I'm going to research them, step 1 in my 7-step process. Understand that agency, understand where I'm trying to go. Then I'm going to start trying to find names. This is targeting, right? Step 2 in the 7-step process. In this targeting phase, what I'm trying to do is to build a list of 1 to 200 names. You might have a lower number, but you want to make sure you build a list of enough names that somebody is going to answer your phone call, because not everybody will answer your phone call. If you haven't seen me talk about this before, take a look at this slide, and it's called a bell curve, right? But the whole idea of this adoption bell curve, and I borrowed this concept from somebody else, but I call it an adoption bell curve. And basically what this bell curve means is who's going to do what you want them to do. And the idea is the people on the left are going to do what you want. The people on the right will not. And you can apply this bell curve anywhere. You can apply it in politics. You can apply it in your family at dinner time. And what restaurant are we going to go to? You can apply it certainly in sales. And so when you reach out to people, you're going to find some people, the innovators, just jump at the fact that you're reaching out to them. And then you'll have some others. But 50% of the people you reach out to are not going to reach back to you. They're not even going to want to talk to you. So that's why you want to make sure you build up a good enough list when you're targeting, that you have enough room so that the people who do talk to you begin to be the right people and get you towards your goal of building relationship, even finding opportunities. Okay, I know I'm flying fast. I like this stuff because to me, I've been riding a bike a long time, so I'm very good at riding a bike. I want to be able to teach you how to ride this bike that is targeting, finding agency people that you can reach out to. So I just showed you one example of how to find names. I could show you, and in fact, if you go back and look at previous training, I've taught many different ways how you can look at other documents, how you can go to websites, etc., and find information. But I want to show you three other ways of how do you find their names of people and their titles, and maybe even begin to find contact information, etc. And I want to leave time in the training so I can tell you how to reach out, right? Okay, so let me pull this up again. Okay, so here what I'm trying to tell you is I can look at a website, I can look at industry slides. LinkedIn is the only professional social media platform out there, the only one. And so in here is where you can find most of the people you're trying to reach out to. There are some people who are not on here, and that's fine. They're elusive, and you got to get introductions to them. You can deal with that later, but let's deal with the 80%. They're on here. And so I'm trying to get into the Secret Service. I looked at the Industry Day slides, but now I come over here and I'm looking at, if you're not familiar with this, this is a LinkedIn company page. My company has this for the GovCon Chamber. LinkedIn has a company page here for U.S. Secret Service. It's their official page. And right here, you can see, they have 2,000 employees. I'm trying to find people. The fact that they got 2,000 employees here on LinkedIn is awesome. So I'm going to click on it. And when I come in, I can begin to start seeing, let me zoom in a little bit. I can begin to start seeing people's information, right? And as I go forward, there's strategy and foresight. Hey, look, I do cybersecurity. There's the deputy CISO, right? I can go into their profile. I can see what they do. I can begin to engage with them, et cetera. But as I'm coming down, I can start seeing who some of these people are. Here's acquisition management. I don't know what that is, but I can go in, explore, see what they describe their title as. And as I move forward, I can keep finding more information on people. Another thing, let me zoom out here really quick. Hold on. Another thing I can do, because there is 2,000 and people like me, we have the ability to scroll through, or it's called browsing through all 2,000. But you can also sit there and just come up and remember that some of those people I saw were like branch chiefs. They seem like they might be below a division chief. So I searched Secret Service, and there's 23 people who are currently working at Secret Service with the title of branch chief. So here's somebody in budgeting, right? If you're on the acquisition side of the house and you do stuff with finances, that might work. This one here, security and counterintelligence. If you're in the cybersecurity or just flat out security world, that might be a good person. But I'm just coming through and I can see some of these folks and see where this might fit, right? Here's a senior cybersecurity operation manager, right? Maybe that's a person to reach out to. Maybe it's a person to contact, but I'm finding these names. And so keep this in mind. On LinkedIn, if you go to a company page or an agency page for the agency you're trying to get into, you can find hundreds or thousands of employees that are there to begin to build your list. That's step one of targeting, is just build the list of names, these people that you might want to talk to and do an intro call with. So that's how you build it there. I want to give you a different way. So this is just everybody at Secret Service. Ironically, the next group I'm going to show you generally are not on LinkedIn, and these are the acquisition people. So you want to come over to the FPDS, Federal Procurement Data System, come over to FPDS, and what I'm trying to do is to go find information. So forget about this screen, and I go into here. In here, what I did was a cyber search. I'm a cyber company. I want to do business at Secret Service, and I'm trying to find contracting officers I might begin to reach out to. And so the reason for and you can see my search criteria on the right, date signed over the last 12 months or so, 18 months, whatever. And then in the Secret Service, because I only want to find people in Secret Service, and I want to find contracts that were awarded that somehow relate to cyber. And my thinking is I can find focuses of power by searching in this way. So here you can see that this is $1 million opportunity. If I click on the view in here, I can find a couple people's information. Here's Pamela, there's Ryan, right? And from this, I have their email and I have their name. And these are generally contracting officers. And this opportunity was cyber related. This is definitely somebody I want to introduce myself to. It's somebody I want to give my capability statement to. So if I go search for Pamela, I can come out here and I use GovTribe, but here's HiGov and there's some other ones, but I can find Pamela's email and here's her phone number. Now I'm off to the races to be able to find people who were there. And you can do this same option. I can't remember how many opportunities. Hold on one second. So there was 9 opportunities with cyber, right? And you can begin to choose whatever keyword might fit. You can sort this by NAICS codes, say, show me contracting officers that are doing something like, let me try 541511, for example. There's 45 there. So I can find contracting officers over the last couple of years who have managed an award that was related to this NAICS code. So you can do anything like that. Go in here and find names and emails for contracting officers or contracting acquisition personnel. All right, the last place to find people, you can go to my small business specialist directory. This is a directory we put together in the GovCon chamber, courtesy of the sustaining members. This is over 1,000 names of government small business specialists. It includes also a separate list in there of SBLOs at large primes, but 1,000 small business specialists. And so say I want to go find Secret Service, right? I've got them listed in. I can come down here and I can find. Now we already saw Kimberly listed in the industry day, but there was no information. But here I can find it if I didn't have it before. And I always tell you, make sure you let us know of any updates, et cetera, because I went into DHS's site where they list out their small business professionals, right? And in here I can see that Tamika and Kimberly are the 2 responsible for the U.S. Secret Service. And so now I've got people's names, numbers, and emails. Ironically, on this website, you can also find all sorts of contracting personnel with their names, emails, and phone numbers in here. DHS, HHS, they do a pretty good job trying to share that information out. So hopefully that part made sense about different ways you can go find people's information, right? You can find it through industry day slides or briefing decks like that, strategic documents. You can find it on through LinkedIn, finding thousands of people perhaps out there. You can find it on FPDS when you're trying to narrow in on the focuses of power, the contracting officer. And you can find it in our directory, Small Business Specialist Directory, for example. That's a great start for a whole bunch of focuses of receptivity. Those people, generally, their job is basically to talk to you. And so go there and you'll find 1,000 people across many different agencies. There was only 1 that I listed for Secret Service. There's 2 that we're going to update that now that I see it. But if you went to the Coast Guard, for example, I think there's 10 or 20. If you go to the Navy, there's 150. So there's a lot of potential people in those directories. I did want to give you just a quick tip on how you might reach out to these people. And very quick tip, because I have all training on other ways, whole trainings about how to do outreach once you have a list. And they're all free and you can find them out there. But the idea is when you find these people, what I would recommend you do to begin to build a relationship, the first thing you do is get onto LinkedIn, find their profile, like that first person I did, Deputy CSO or CISO, just engage with them on LinkedIn, give them a thumbs up or make a comment. Take a few weeks to warm them up before you ever reach out. And if you do this on a regular basis, at some point you're meeting somebody new every single day, but engage with them. And when you're ready, click follow on their profile. And then when you're really ready, then you can reach out to them either through their phone number, email, or voicemail. But you can also use LinkedIn and just do a direct connection request and say, hey, love to connect, stay in touch. Can I, maybe get an introduction call out there? But when you do it this way and you're trying to get an introduction call, make sure you take the time to let them know who you are as you get to know who they are as well. Okay, so that covers the training we're doing. I hope you found it valuable. And remember, when you think about trying to reach out and find and meet federal buyers, this is a skill that I'm trying to teach you today. I'm teaching it to you really fast, but this is a skill just like learning to ride a bike for the first time. Understand, and if you have to go back and rewatch this video, but understand the steps I'm teaching you and then practice the steps. And eventually you're going to get really, really good at it, right? I could build a list in an hour or 2 hours of any particular agency and go straight into them, right? That's what I do in our workshop for our customers that pay us. But if you watch the skills and learn the skills and then practice them, you will get as good as I am really in not too long a time, because it's not like I'm some sort of genius, right? I just have a process. I follow the process and it gives me repeatable, predictable results. If you'd like to work with me and my team and you're at a certain range, like let's say $1 million and beyond, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Our BD Accelerator workshop has room for businesses to come into it starting in April. And I'd love to have you in if it's a fit for us and a fit for you. And last thing, just remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.